Assalamu alaikum to some of you and peace to the rest of you. When I looked at videos about why men don't approach women to see, and looking up some other discussions too, what I found was that the discussions may have started on social media about 9 years ago. I also found that as these discussions started about 9 years ago, the reasons that were given changed. About 6 years ago and before that, you'd hear a lot of women and a few men that were self-styled pickup artists telling you, oh, men don't approach because of misconceptions and lack of confidence and bad experiences from before, and reasons that were suggestive of men's need to change their mindsets and go out and start making approaches. Now, it's different. I would say about 5 years ago and more recently, the reasons have begun to be more realistic and more reflective of what men have been taught and socialized in the first place. And ladies, in order for you to understand this, I want you to listen to this hypothetical scenario that I'm going to give you. Ladies, you've heard different things and you've come up with your own conclusions from friends, male and female, a lot of times female friends, and from what is convenient for you. I'm going to go ahead and break it down for you in a way that almost every man knows, because even though not every man will have the same reasons, the reasons that are being expressed the most often and by men right now are the ones I'm going to tell you, because these are probably going to be the most pertinent ones. If they were not, I wouldn't tell them to you. Ladies, imagine that you have noticed a particular man. He's got your attention. He's your type. But he doesn't know about you. You have no evidence that he's seen you before, that he knows you exist. And you have a bit of information on this man from others that know him and their experiences. And so you know from others' prior experiences that he does not hate women, but there's no right way for a woman to approach him. There are wrong ways, but there's no right way. So, therefore, you already know from others' experiences that you should not make an approach. And he does not know that you're there, so he is not going to approach you. Now, there's no solution to this problem. The next man you notice, you find out the same thing. He's not going to approach you, and there is no right way to approach him. That you have a 79% chance of being publicly shot down or rejected and humiliated in front of others if you approach him. 79%. If he likes you, the chances go down, but they are still at 23%. And this is what you find out. And then, so there's no solution to the problem, so you forget. And then the next guy. You do your research and your homework, and you find out that you've got an 88% chance with this guy of being shot down publicly and humiliated if you approach him. There's not really a right way to do it. And if he likes you, your chances are still 18% of being shot down. So this means that at best, you got an 82% chance of him admitting that he likes you if he likes you. And I say at best because the other options are that he just says, okay, but then he just doesn't call you later. Or that He says, okay, we can spend time together, we can go out. And then he gets a promotion the next week and has to move out of town before you ever get to hang out. So there's still all of these other things that are going to be at play. Now, ladies, it's taken me 5 minutes plus to explain the hypothetical scenario to you. You can see where this is going. In the hypothetical scenario I'm giving you, move on, and it's the same thing. Now, an hypothetical scenario I'm giving you is only like this for the guys you notice. Just the guys you notice. It's not like this for every guy, but if you like them and you do your homework, you find this out. You have to make the approach, and you have a very high chance of being shot down publicly. And you have to approach him publicly because you ain't going to see him alone. Now, that scenario that I gave you is still easier on you than the real life scenarios are on men. For men, the risks are great and the rewards are few. And that's really what it boils down to. The risks are public humiliation, lawsuits, false accusations. In the event of marriage, the risks are great of divorce, alimony, losing custody of your children, and raising children that aren't even your own. These are the risks that are out there waiting. So the further you go along, the greater the risks get, not to mention STDs as well. Now, at this point, a man has to look at these things, and then if he's intelligent, which is what you want, then he has to start looking and seeing what's happening to other people around him to assess the level of these risks. He knows these things exist, but the intelligent man looks to see what the probabilities are for each outcome. And then he finds out that they're actually fairly high. So now, after an intelligent man realizes how high these risks are, if he makes an approach and he doesn't get publicly humiliated, and they actually spend time together, and she does not live a false accusations, and they do proceed, and they get serious, and they get committed, and then later on it just doesn't work out. Well, in the meantime, he has had to listen. In the Western world, this man has still had to listen while they were together to her talk about independence and female empowerment, but still holding him to standards of manhood that include responsibility but not authority. So he's literally been given the worst of both worlds. Pre-feminism, post-feminism, the best of neither one. And she's been socialized by her friends to not do things for him that might be seen as catering, even though he's expected to do the same things. While it has worked, before they get to a breakup, be it a divorce or just a breakup, while it has worked, he is expected to impress her with a hell of a lot. And she is expected to not do anything just for the purpose of impressing him. Because she's socialized that way in order to prove her worth as a woman. And for him to prove his worth as a man, it's the opposite. What does he get for Father's Day or for Valentine's Day? Sex. And maybe low-cost gifts. Not because she doesn't have the money, but because that's just what men are worth on the market. Even when they're outnumbered, that's what they're worth. What does he get her for Valentine's Day? If he's not impressing her with expensive gifts, even if they hold no value, practically, he's got to impress her with expensive gifts, or she's going to find someone else. Now stop and think about that and what message that sends. Well, I mean, goodness. So what this means is that men have already been told that they're worthless on the market. Now, this is after at least 2 decades, if not 3, of socialization through the media that violence against men is normal and it's funny and it's laughable. Not violence against women. and it should not be laughable. But violence against men is normal and laughable. This is, I can tell you that it was almost 30 years ago that I was told that I was wrong no matter what I did. I got struck by a woman. If I didn't hit her back, I was wrong. And if I hit her back, I was wrong. What would have been the best thing to do? Not be around her? This is what I learned. I wasn't the only one either. Other men had similar things happen. It got to a point that by the time high school began, women were so anxious to fight men because the men weren't allowed to hit back. These same women ran from challenges from other girls that wanted to fight them because now they were allowed to hit back and they might lose anyway. So there was no social ramifications for a female student hitting a male student. None at all. Girl, that's right. You showed him. But now, if she lost the fight to another woman, there were social ramifications, just like if a man lost the fight to another man, or if he got hit by a woman, no matter what he did afterwards. Nothing or anything. I'd seen outside of a club, I saw a woman not even argue with the man. She struck him first right off the bat. He had done nothing. He may have done something she didn't like, but he had done nothing violent to her. She crossed the line and struck him with violence. And he got ready to hit her, and all the men held him back. Nobody saw fit to hold her back. So when you factor in what men are being taught right now and what they have been taught, and then the standards that men are expected to meet in order to impress a woman, and the socialization of women to not meet certain standards to impress men. Not to meet certain standards to keep the man, I should say. Sure, look as good as you can, but don't be nice. Then all of these risks factor in. And to be honest with you, ladies, a man that is willing to approach you this day and age is already so stupid you don't want him. That's the reality of the scenario. Think about it from the hypothetical perspective I gave you. Now let me explain to you what it's like for the men. For a man, every time you see a woman and she looks good enough to be noticed, if she looks as good to you as you look to her, you have a 79% chance of being turned down and a higher chance of being turned down publicly. You have a 79% chance of being turned down publicly and a higher chance of being turned down because if you approach her in private to keep it private, that's going to scare her because you approached her in private. And you got to keep a distance from her when no one else is around for her to feel safe. So you got to approach her when there are other people around. If you do that, then she's going to turn you down publicly. That's a very high chance, a very high risk. Now, if she likes the way you look, she's still not likely to admit it because she's getting attention from other guys. And if she's not, well, she's still going to act like it. Then to make matters worse, you have to meet the approval of not only her, but her friends. So if she likes you and her friends don't like you, she still will not approve of you and she will turn you down. That's the reality of it. And in order for a man to do for him to do all of this, the rewards are, as what I've mentioned before, just maybe a marriage and some commitment and more responsibility. These are the rewards because let's be honest, the affection that is supposed to come with it, modern day women have been socialized to not provide. They've been told not to do it. A lot of them don't even consciously understand why they just won't provide any more affection to him after they've been together for a while, and it's not boredom. They don't really understand why it is. Well, it's because they've been socialized not to. Girl, look, you need to get X, Y, and Z. Because, women aren't supposed to be emotionally vulnerable to men this day and age. And attachment is emotional vulnerability. Can you imagine that this is is you may not realize that that's how you've been socialized, or you may realize, but can you imagine that a man, in order to get that little reward, has to approach you every single time, even if you liked him first? Now stop and think about it. The market today is set up to extract all of the effort from men and provide nothing. A little bit in the short term and nothing in the long term in exchange. And then even more effort later on in the form of alimony, child support, or false accusations and lawsuits. These things are the reward for the risk that this man has to take. In other words, it's so bad that some of these risks are the only reward. The reward is more risk for the risk that he's already taken. When you start thinking about this, intelligent men will naturally look at a game that is rigged and they will say the only way to win a rigged game is to not play it. It's like the game, and it's a vicious game. It shouldn't be a game, and that's it if you're talking about real meaning to love and commitment, but it's still little more than a game. And it is a card shark hustler game on the side of the street. Imagine somebody just sitting on the side of the street trying to gamble with passersby to get some money, but the deck of cards is loaded in the first doggone place. Or somebody trying to play dice. Yeah, man, look, let's shoot these dice right quick. They try to get you to gamble, but the dice are loaded. It's like that. Or someone comes up and makes a loaded bet with you on the street. Hey, man, look, I bet you that I can tell you where you got those shoes for $5. If I get it right, you got to give me $5. And you stop and you say, yeah, this is intriguing. How does he know where do I have my shoes? And he says, you got them on your feet on this here street, and you got to give him $5 now. Or he's got his boys are going to jump out and beat you and take everything. That's what this game is like. And the only way to avoid it is to say, no, thank you, I'm not doing it. Man, I bet you $5 I could tell you where you got these shoes. The only way out of this is to say, thank you, but no, I'm not doing it. And that's it. Now, even then, if you turn off on a side street with no witnesses, you might still get robbed. That's what it's like. The game is so vicious nowadays, ladies, that in spite of all this talk about women's empowerment and women's rights, what men are saying is that the only time women exercise their right to make an approach to men is when the men are in just exceptional, very rare. They're in the top bracket for height and looks and wealth and status and fame. They are exceptionally tall and wealthy and famous. That's the only time. i.e. NBA players, NFL players, things like that. Very small segments of the population of men. Women have said that they're empowered and they're free to make their own choices, but they don't exercise that choice unless the man is pretty much a celebrity of some sort. And a well-paid celebrity. Not a celebrity from decades ago that might not be wealthy anymore. None of that. Oh, no. No. Wealthy and famous right now. Now, this sends a message to men that we're just worthless anyway. So then men start to think, well, if we're really that worthless, then what value do we have when women complain about us not making the approaches to begin with? Well, I'll tell you what I've seen in my case. Every time someone tried to fix me up with someone in recent times, with the exception of one good friend who's now deceased, every time in recent years someone tried to fix me up, they were trying to fix me up with someone that was inappropriately incompatible with me, and they knew it. Someone tried to fix me up with a 17-year-old housemaid. If I got a master's, and I'm 20 years older than her, all I'm going to do is flip it. I'm going to say, in the age of feminism and women's empowerment, would she look at me if the roles were reversed? She's 20 years older than me. She got a master's, and I'm working as a mechanic. No. If I was making a lot of money as a mechanic, she still wouldn't do it because she didn't. How's she going to show it off to her friends? No, that's not going to work. Someone tried to fix me up with someone that was about, let's see, right at 20 years younger than I am. She had just had a baby, so she was a new mother going through a divorce after her first baby. And really bad situation. She was about to get deported from the country in which she was living as soon as the divorce was finalized because she had no rights to live there anymore. I said to myself, okay, why should I accept this? So suppose I'm a 21-year-old man and my wife is leaving me right after we've had our first baby. Baby's still an infant. She's divorcing me and I'm putting myself on the market. Because obviously this lady needed help. She needed a rescue. So suppose I'm in a situation from which I need rescue. Oh, well, then I'm unfit for marriage. I need to wait till I get my life together. But wait a minute, this is the age of women's empowerment. So why am I only good for rescuing women if they're so empowered? Now, if this is happening to me, it's happening to other guys too. Ladies, you now have your understanding of what the deal is that is being offered to men and how that deal is so bad that more and more men are saying we will not approach women. You got guys that aren't even MGTOW saying I'm not making approaches. That's not happening. Sorry, ladies. I'm not saying this out of hatred. I'm saying this to make you aware. Unfortunately, with the way that the culture and legal system is set up now and the way the laws are being applied, many of you are going to be single for the rest of your lives because you're not going to approach men. But you're still going to talk about women's empowerment and all of that. To men, you can never have your cake and eat it too. I hope this has been a benefit. Assalamu alaikum.